watched was Women's Rights Are Human Rights by Hillary Clinton. Her speech was made in 1995, but today in 2015 it is just as relevant as it was then. Her main points were that women are undervalued in society. Women are the caretakers of the world, and they are not valued. Women give birth to the children of the world, take care of the children who grow up to be the politicians and the educators of the world, yet they are underappreciated. Women are strained and oppressed. The history of women is a history of abuse from men, abuse from society, and it's also a history of silence because that abuse has gone unspoken, and that hindrance on women's rights has gone unspoken. Women work inside and outside the home, and they should be valued in both those positions. Now, it is seen that women are looked down upon because they work in the homes and because they seem like menial tasks compared to the jobs that men hold. However, it needs to be done, and children need to be raised, and so women should be appreciated for taking the time to do that job. Women should have personal security just as men have personal security. They should choose the number of children they bear. They should not be banned from politics. They should choose whether they have an abortion or not. Children that are born girls should not be killed in other countries because they are female. They should be appreciated. Women are miracles. We are vessels of life that create life and sustain life, and we should be appreciated as such because human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights, and it all goes hand in hand. And Hillary just wanted to bring to the attention that the history of women should be appreciated and the future of women should be supported. Women should be supported in politics, in the workplace, in their countries, in the world, in their families, because women take care of the families, and families are everything. And people that grow up in healthy families because they have healthy mothers that supported them grow up to be healthy individuals, and those healthy individuals support and create the world around us, and it all comes back to the women in their lives. The nonverbal cues she gave, she had an amazing posture. She was very straight, she was very stern, very direct. She had an almost masculine stance, a very powerful stance, and she stood strong, and she almost overtook the podium. Now, when giving a speech on women's rights, it should, the stance should seem powerful and direct and not as though women are a minuscule force. Now, being a woman, she presented herself very, very strongly, and as she went along, her enthusiasm grew. The response from the crowd, kind of fed her, and she grew more confident as she went along. And those are just all nonverbal cues. You could hear the excitement. You could hear the enthusiasm that she really, felt passionately about what she was saying. So, but definitely the main nonverbal cues was her very powerful masculine stance that meant that she meant business. She meant to get this message across, and she meant for it to be taken seriously, even though sometimes what women say isn't taken seriously. The listening challenges I had, Hillary Clinton was born in a first world. She was a woman of privilege. She was a woman, she was born in a wealthy family, and she has always lived a wealthy life. The challenges I had listening to her was that she kind of seen it as though women in America are oppressed, as though they can't find work in certain places, but in other countries, women are killed, women are raped, women are abused, women are tortured, and it just kind of seemed like she looked down on other countries. So that was kind of a bit of a struggle. My bias as a woman made it a little difficult for me to concentrate because I was kind of like paraphrasing everything in my head, and I kind of got a little lost in my thoughts. Also, a challenge that I had, I kind of started zoning out because I agreed with everything she was saying. So I chose this speech because it seemed the most interesting to me because as a woman, I support the movement for more women's rights, and so the whole time agreeing with everything she was saying, it got a little bit redundant because there's nothing that I could mentally argue with because, I agreed with everything she said. So that made it a little difficult for me, but for the most part, I was pretty focused. The distracting activities, one, I got lost in thought a couple times because, just like I said, since that speech was given in 1995, a lot of the things are still relevant, but there were certain things that were a little different. Women have a little more rights now and are a little more respected now, but still we are seen as underneath men. But I was just trying, as I was listening, I was trying to mentally update the information in my head. So, that distracted me. An activity that distracted me was, my best friend is a trans woman now. We address him as she. I was just thinking of her struggle as a woman, and just thinking of how, trans women should get the same rights as women and as humans in general, because rights for humans and rights for women and rights for trans, it's all human rights. It doesn't discriminate. We are all humans, so we should all have the rights. So kind of thinking, about her throughout all of this, that distracted me as well. Things I can do without affecting my listening. I think everything that you do, that when you're multitasking, trying to listen and do other things, I think everything is pretty distracting. So I can't really think of anything that doesn't affect my listening. Now, there are varying degrees of how much my listening is compromised when I'm doing other things, but pretty much everything affects my listening. So if I really want to listen and I really want to get the most out of what I'm hearing, I will drop everything else and give the speaker or whatever has my attention, my undivided attention, so that I can get the most out of it. So, okay, that's everything.